Hey folks, welcome all. I will be continuing to let folks in over the next few minutes, but we'll just get started here in a moment. Hope everyone's enjoying the day. We have some big storm clouds and lightning here in Northern Virginia. In the DC area, we're getting hit. Visibility is quite low. You could actually see, that's perfect timing, the lightning happening out back. We're in a secure location. We're all right, but lots of storming over here. Hopefully, this will help us beat the heat. Christina's not too far away over in Reston. Um,
Pretty dark over here. I apologize in advance if the power goes out. It doesn't happen very often, but
well, I'll jump into support. Um, all right. Well, folks, we'll kick things off. Folks will likely continue to trickle in as we go. But welcome to GrantExec's monthly series on GrantGPT. Today, Kristina Alcorn, GrantExec's Grant Services Director, will be providing a tutorial and a live demo of how to use GrantGPT to its maximum effect. A bit of background, Kristina manages our team of 28 grant writing professionals here at GrantExec. We are a SaaS platform, but also augmented by the amazing work that those grant writers do. Many of these grant writers have now since adopted GrantGPT to expedite their workflows. And Christina will tell you a little bit more about that process. For any questions that you have, feel free to shoot a message in the chat. And we will be recording this. So for folks that aren't able to make it today, we'll be sure to send out that recording for easy access. And with that, Christina, I'm going to turn it over to you.
thank you very much, Ryan. Well, as Ryan said, I am Kristina Alcorn. I'm the Grant Services Director here at GrantExec, and I'm going to walk you through GrantGPT today, which is our powerful AI grant writing tool designed to simplify and streamline your grant writing process. So whether you are a seasoned pro or brand new to grant writing, you're going to find something useful in GrantGPT. It's going to save you time. It's going to reduce stress. It's really going to help you produce high quality applications. And I'm really excited to share GrantGPT with you because it has been a game changer for me. I am a total convert. I spent the last 20 years in proposal writing and grant writing and have done it the old fashioned way for decades. Just, the analog reading through the funding opportunity documents, understanding all the elements of it, creating the templates, pulling together disparate reuse to create an application. All that changes with GrantGPT, and I can't wait to share it with you. Before we jump in, I want to talk to you a little bit about what makes GrantGPT truly different, because I get this question a lot. People ask me, what is the difference between GrantGPT and a generic GPT? GrantGPT, we custom built this to be a grant writer. So it blends advanced language technology with insights from our experienced grant professionals, those 28 experts that Ryan mentioned earlier. It understands how funders think, how applications are scored, and how to write in a voice that resonates with the funder. It also incorporates our style guide for grammar, punctuation, tone, word choice, and it already knows the universe of grant application vocabulary. So, we might throw around terms like NOFO, FOA for the funding opportunity documents. It knows all that. So it really is kind of a leap ahead, an enormous leap ahead from just a generic GPT. The other thing I want to mention, because I do get asked this a lot, is privacy. We don't train GrantGPT on any of your content, your drafts, your organizational information. All your data is your own. It's never used by GrantGPT or shared to train the model, and it's yours. It stays yours always. So no need to worry about privacy concerns. We do understand it. We take it very seriously. So that's why we don't use it to train our model. All right, so let's jump in. I am going to share my screen. I'm going to get a thumbs up from Ryan that indeed you're seeing the GrantExec platform. Now, I know some of the folks on the call today are already subscribers, so thank you very much for that. So if you are, this screen is probably pretty familiar to you. We are going to use Food for Neighbors as our demo applicant. Food for Neighbors is a longtime client of GrantExec. They have already won $100,000 using our platform, and they are a local nonprofit that addresses food insecurity for middle and high school students. And so Food for Neighbors created an organizational profile, and we match our database with their profile. So all the live funding opportunities from federal, state, local, and private funders that are in our database, and it is the largest database in the US, gets matched against that profile. And so then we go to the prospects page and see what we have found for them. And again, if you're a subscriber, you've seen this before. These are all the different opportunities. What I'm going to do is go to their saved grants. And we're going to work with one, it's called Race to Rebuilding Trust and Community. And this is Arlington County. Now, if you look under status, you're going to see it says anticipating the next round. We understand this is going to open in September. So this is a good one for us to use today. It's never a bad idea to get a jump on an application if you can. So let's say you are Food for Neighbors and you pull up the race opportunity. You read through the description. You read the AI analysis based on the Food for Neighbors profile, why it's a good idea, why there's strong alignment, things to look for, and you want to know more. So you're going to visit the source. And this takes you right to the funder webpage, which in this case is Arlington County. And as I would with any funder, I want to read all I can on the website, and I'm going to want to get the funding opportunity documents. Now, I was talking about a little bit before how GrantGPT understands that whole universe of grant vocabulary. You'll hear me say NOFO, so that's Notice of Funding Opportunity. It could also be a funding opportunity announcement, a FOA. In this case, they're referring to it as grant guidelines. So what I would do is pull the grant guidelines up, obviously read through them, but also download them so that I can use them in my session with GrantGPT. This is what GrantGPT is going to base its answers on. I'm also going to grab this URL, and you'll see why in a moment. All right, and so I want to use GrantGPT. So I'm going to click right here, Write with AI. And that's going to take us to the GrantGPT page. Now, if you're here alone, you don't have me guiding you through it, no problem, because GrantGPT is going to help you all the way through. And a good place to start is right here, where it's named Start. Click here. And one of the things, there's a lot of useful information here, but I really recommend that you bookmark this. This is our user guide. And I'm going to go through a lot that's in here, but it's wonderful to have to go back and look at. And one of the things that we're really going to go through today is using prompts. And I've put all the prompts that I'm using for today here in this user guide. So you don't have to rush and take notes or screenshots or anything. You can, of course, but they're here in the user guide, and you can always go back and refer to those. So really quick, what is a prompt? We have a definition right here. It's that specific information that you type into the chat box to guide GrantGPT into providing the support that you need. You really want them to be clear and detailed, as precise as possible. Something that I've learned, and I recommend you do it as well, start with the prompt that I've provided or write your own. And if you're not getting what you want, ask GPT how to fix the prompt, how to correct the prompt so that you get an even better response. So it's pretty meta, but I've used it to great effect. So I want to make sure you know about the user guide. Okay, but I'm here to help you today. So here is what we're going to do. I am going to drop in. Remember, I said to go and make a copy, download the funding opportunity document. So I've done that. I have it right here, and I'm going to upload it to GrantGPT. So we can refer back to that to answer all these questions I'm going to ask in the prompt. And so here is a typical prompt that I'm going to use to get started to assess eligibility. I mean, that really is grant writing 101. You've got to be eligible before you apply. I don't want anybody wasting their time applying for something that they're not eligible for. So here's the prompt I use. And I made this specific to this opportunity. So I said, using the uploaded NOFO and the funder URL, that's where I grabbed the URL, I popped it in there. Extract all explicitly stated eligibility requirements. Present the results as a clean, marked down, formatted table in this chat box. That's a little bit more information that you probably need, but I want it to show here so that you can see it while we're working together. And then I want it in a table with the following columns: eligibility criteria, areas of concern, NOFO section and page reference, and recommended action. I'm also putting in do not include assumptions or hypothetical content. You may have heard or you may be familiar that GPTs can hallucinate. They really want to give you an answer, and sometimes they're going to go and make inferences. We don't want that, especially when we need to be totally compliant. So I'm always going to ask them, I'm always going to put in the prompt, don't make assumptions, don't include hypothetical content. And I want the page reference number so that I can always go back and check, just that double check. And so this is what I get. It created this eligibility requirements table. So it's telling me the eligibility criteria, any concerns, red flags, where I will find it in the NOFO. And again, I'm going to go back and make sure, and then any recommended action. And so you see right here, I can copy this table. So I will copy it and I will paste it into a document in we use Google for Google folders for organization, Google Drive. And so I make a folder for that particular application, and I'm going to pop the eligibility requirements table into that folder. So that's the first thing I want to do, is assess eligibility. All right, we're eligible. Awesome. Now I really want to understand the funder goals, because whatever I write, it needs to reflect that. I'm sure you've heard it before that organizations have a mission and they want to advance that mission. If your project or initiative advances their mission, wonderful. You have an increased chance of winning the funding. So you really need to understand what that mission is and their goals. So here is a typical prompt. Create a detailed explanation of the funder's goals, priorities, mission, and objectives as outlined in the uploaded NOFO and funder URL. Strictly adhere to the language of the NOFO, focusing on the specific areas the funder aims to support and prioritize. Again, avoid assumptions or hypothetical interpretations. And so here's what I get. Really succinct understanding of mission and purpose, the funding focus areas, their stated objectives, priority impact areas, priority populations. And then one thing I really love about this GrantGPT is that it's always going to say, hey, it's going to give you suggestions. How can I help you going forward? And definitely take advantage of that. I have a plan to get through today to show you a lot, but it's really fun to just kind of follow the suggestions they provide and see where it takes you. Okay, so again, I will cut and paste this, put it into my application specific folder, and carry on. The next thing, super important, as grant writers all understand, is you need to understand and respond to the evaluation criteria. And so here I'm saying, identify and explain the evaluation criteria for the uploaded NOFO and from the uploaded NOFO and funder URL. For each criterion, provide specific guidance on how to meet the requirement, including what content the funder is seeking, avoid generalizations and assumptions, and reference the NOFO directly. And so this is going to break down the evaluation criteria by weight. And so in this case, the written application is 50%, and it's telling me this is what the funder wants and suggestions for how to meet it. I find these really useful. Sometimes you might overlook something. Again, the Section 2 evaluation, how to meet it. A lot of funders are now asking for SMART goals. I'm doing one, they call them Smarties. They added IES to the end of it. So it's even more. And after I wrote, a really strong first draft, I asked GrantGPT to create a Smarties table for me, laying everything out and actually giving me suggestions on how to respond to some of those, specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, time-bound, inclusive. I forgot what the other ones are, those goals. So it really helps me take what I have and help me put it into the Smarties goals. I mean, you can do that for all sorts of things, but just a quick example there. So this is explained to me the evaluation criteria and helping me to meet that. All right. Super useful right here is asking GrantGPT to create a working document for me, a working document of the application. Very often, maybe exclusively now, we're responding to NOFOs on the funder portal. And so, you're writing it and then you're uploading it. You don't ever want to work in the portal. Heaven forbid you hit send and you're not quite done yet. So I want to have a working document that I can work from, that I can share with my teammates. And so often, because you're working from the portal, you don't have a template to work from. No problem. GrantGPT can create it for you. So this would be a typical prompt. Create a full application template based on the uploaded NOFO, including all required sections. Do not add hypothetical content, just structure, guidance, and prompts directly tied to the NOFO. For each section, provide section header, word, page, and character limits if provided. I think if I remember on this one, they didn't provide it, but I want to know because I don't want to write way more than I'm going to be able to use. I want to kind of have that word or character limit in my head as I'm writing. No problem if you go over, because one of the prompts you can do is, make this more concise, take this and reduce it to 5,000 characters, whatever they're allowing you. And so this is what I get. This is now going to be my working document. Again, I'm going to copy and paste it. It's going to be in my Google Drive, and I'm going to work from this, and I'm going to share it with my teammates so they can see what we have and what's needed. And so it creates it, section by section based on the NOFO. And so, it has also provided me writing prompts. So provide more than one example connected to data, stories, and the population served. So it's giving me helpful advice. Sometimes you don't know exactly what they're looking for. This is a great way to understand. So this is my working document. Now, one of the things that I think we all find the most useful is to have GrantGPT create a first draft. I'll even call it a pre-first draft. So what I'm going to do is I am going to upload reuse. So what is reuse? Reuse is anything that will help GrantGPT and ultimately the funder understand more about your organization, about the particular project that you're proposing. So it can be really useful if you've written grants before. So it can be past submissions, it could be slide decks, it could be articles that have been written about the project or your organization. It can certainly be and it should be the applicant's URL. So anything that you can think of that is just going to provide background and reuse, you're going to put it in here. Now, we've worked with Food for Neighbors quite a bit, so we have a lot of reuse, and we've gathered their reuse from other applications that they've written on their own. And I put them all into this one Uber document. So this is my Food for Neighbors reuse document, but you can upload individual documents. So these all happen to be formatted in Word, or I guess now in Google Docs, but you might have a PDF slide deck. Just pop it all in there. I think there is a limit to how many you can upload at once. It might be 8 or 10, but I kind of get around that by combining like content in a folder or in a file and then uploading it. So I've uploaded my reuse, and then a typical prompt would be use the uploaded file. And I've said what the file name is. You don't have to do this, but I think it helps. It avoids any kind of confusion, especially if you are telling it to do things with different things. Like say I was, use the uploaded file, the reuse file to respond to these criteria, and I had them in another file just to distinctly explain what file you're talking about and what you want GrantGPT to do with that file. In this case, I only have one file, so it doesn't really matter, but it's just a habit. I think it's good. It's a good SOP. So use the uploaded file and content from the applicant's website, and I'm giving the applicant's website. It's a really good website. You should check it out sometime. Foodforneighbors.org to populate the application template created in the previous prompt. Where content is available, insert it verbatim. Write in complete narrative. Sometimes I've done this before and it'll give me responses in bullets, which isn't that useful. So I'm directing it to write in narrative format. I'm telling it to note where content is missing or incomplete. And again, I'm telling it to align with the NOFOs structure. So this is always the exciting part. So it has created a first draft for me where it's filling out sections that I can then go and, oh yeah, here's a SMART goal. That's really nice to have. Sometimes it's kind of hard to come up with those. And it's really created a nice starting point. Now, this can be, and it is, a very iterative process. So if I'm looking through here, I'm kind of like, I think we could do better in some parts. So I can go back and I can say, expand section 3 using all available content. And again, I'm going to tell it to write in a narrative format. It gave me some bullets. Don't love that, but I can, like I said, it's iterative, so I can push it to do better. Use a narrative format rather than bullets. All right, and then give it a moment to think about it. And so here it is expanding that section 3. So yeah, I mean, that's really why I consider it a pre-first draft, because then as you're in here, you can continue working with it. I mean, this is so much better than the first response it gave me, where it was really just bullets. And so I will, same thing, copy and paste. This will be my first draft. This is where I'm going to work with my team, or if it's just you alone, to bring in my understanding, my nuance as a human grant writer, but with the support of GrantGPT, doing a lot of that initial work. One thing that I do is I conduct a mock review on my drafts. This is really useful, especially if you're working alone or in a really small team. Sometimes you just get page blind. You have looked at this thing so many times that you can't see it anymore. And so what I do is I upload, maybe it's my first really strong first draft. I've taken everything that GrantGPT has given me. I've worked in my understanding of the organization, of the funder. I've put in my nuance. Now I want to get graded on it, basically. And so I'm going to tell GrantGPT to conduct a mock review of the uploaded application draft, simulating the perspective of the funder's reviewer. Evaluate each section using the evaluation criteria listed in the NOFO and the funder URL. Ensure the review is actionable, specific, and tied directly to the funder's stated priorities. For each section, note strengths, identify issues or non-compliance, and provide suggestions for improvement. I really can't tell you how helpful this has been for me. So, okay, here we go. strengths. It's telling me what they are. In that particular section, they didn't note any issues. Oh, that section is exemplary. That's nice to hear. Section 3, they've noted some issues and they're giving me they're giving me suggestions for revisions. This is so helpful. And then I can go back, especially if a lot of times I think one of the things that are missing is substantiating claims. You really need some data, and it can go back and it can say, go back and get data. I can go back to my client, to my coworkers and say, can we substantiate this? So I appreciate that ability to get graded and improved before I submit it. And I always do this about maybe a week before final submission so that I get that final review. Again, especially if you're working in a small team or by yourself, it's really nice to have that. It's like having a review panel before it goes. And we have had clients who've come to us with applications that they've written, not with our support. They're new clients to us and they didn't win. And they're like, why didn't we win? And then I can go back, we kind of call it a post-mortem. I can go back and look at the evaluation criteria, what they submitted, and come up with a report and say, here's what you missed. And then there's always a chance to improve. How are we doing on time, Ryan?
We're doing well, right on time.
Okay, I have a few more things I think will be helpful. One of my roles is often, I do a lot of grant writing, but also proposal management. And I am a real stickler. I'm not going to let anything get by me and not be included because generally, especially for your larger federal applications, you go through two processes. The first is your application is going to be reviewed in an administrative phase. And if you pass the administrative phase, then you get to go on to be technically reviewed. Administrative phase is, oh, they didn't include an SF424 form, something like that. I don't ever want somebody not to get to the technical phase because we forgot something. So I create a complete checklist of everything that's required to go into the application. And I want to know, in this case, it doesn't have word or character limits, but I want to be able to go and check and make sure we hit the limits. And a lot of times there's naming conventions that have to be spot on. So, I'm just going to have everything laid out here and, you can run it again and say, give me a little checkbox. And then you can download it and then you have it there for your use. So much more I can tell you. I'm going to tell you one more thing. This is so useful for me. You can create templates for anything. And one thing that I use it for all the time is to create resume templates because almost always you're asked to include resumes of key team members, but they don't necessarily they don't give you a template for the resume so that you can ask it, create a template that strictly follows the requirements outlined in the NOFO, ensure it complies with all formatting guidelines. So it gives me this nice template and suggestions, examples of what content can be completed. And so I can send this template out to my key teammates and say, hey, please complete your resume. I'm working on a job right now where I think, like a lot of folks do not like to write their resumes. And so I was waiting to get content back. I wanted to get it done. And I thought, I wonder if I put in the link to an individual's LinkedIn page, if it could write a resume for me. Yep, it can. And so in the span of 5 minutes, I wrote 5 resumes that were compliant. Now, of course, I'm going to send them to the individual to review it and make sure it's right. But I think it's easier to look at something and edit it than start from a blank page. And so this is just another example of a way that GrantGPT can help you. So many ways. I have just scratched the surface. I hope you found this useful, and I would love to answer any questions if anybody has any.
Bravo, bravo. Way to go, Kristina. That was excellent. And every time I get to watch this, I learn something new. So the LinkedIn profile for resume generation, that's pretty neat.
I know.
Well, we do have time for just a question or two. Folks, feel free to drop it in the chat or request to unmute. But Christine, I'd be interested to hear a little bit about your experience while folks are doing that. Getting comfortable with GrantGPT. I know originally, that doing things for a while one way. This is a new paradigm. So, how did you
Yeah.
navigate that?
I mean, and you could probably speak to it, Ryan, because, I came in doing things a certain way. The way I had done them really had not changed in 20 years. We used to, it seems laughable now, but I mean, we used to print out the entire RFP or NOFO, which could be hundreds of pages, and we'd put it in a binder and we'd read through it and highlight it and put stickers to be able to go back and refer to information. So that was what was in my head. And Ryan's like, oh, well, no, we can use a GPT. And I'm like, okay, what is that? And I don't trust it. I don't know how to use it. It's not going to work. And I think, I don't even know. You can correct me, Ryan, but I mean, within days, it was so clear how useful this is. I mean, really think about it like an assistant, a really, really smart assistant that you can hand work off to. And that LinkedIn example, it's just I feel like the only limitation is a limit in I don't know, curiosity or imagination, and sometimes desperation. Because I'm like, I need to get these done, and I'm not getting what I need. Where can I get that information? So yeah, I think just getting in there, just trying it. You're not going to break it, you know. There's no fear, and honestly, I have a friend who says, you're going to fail, so fail fast. And this, I wouldn't say this is failure, but maybe you go in and it doesn't work, but you're going to learn something from everything. And then you can say, okay, I didn't get the information I wanted. I didn't get the response I wanted. How do I change the prompt to do better? Because I think when I started, I was more conversational maybe with Grant GPT. Could you please do this for me? You know what? Get to the point, tell it what you want, make it very clear. Um, One thing we didn't get into, but that you can do is you can take something and say, this is an example of what I'm looking for. Use this as a reference point. That maybe this is the tone I'm trying to use. And it just keep giving it information to help it do the best job for you.
Well put. Well put. Well, we'll leave it at that. I've included Christina's Calendly in the chat here for folks that have follow-up questions. You can reach us anytime at ryan@grantexec.com or christina@grantexec.com. And we look forward to the next session. We're continually updating the system. And so as you have more feedback, ideas, comments, please do share them. And with that, we'll wrap things up. So, Christina, thank you very much. Thank you all for attending. Looking forward to chatting with you all again soon. Thank you very much. Bye,
Bye
y'all.
now.